Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the CIGA Design Series U Blue Planet 2. This watch is available from CIGAdesign.com in two versions. The steel version is $1,199 which is €1,056. The titanium version is $1,399 which is €1,231 respectively. In 2021, the original Blue Planet won a GPHD Challenge Award. GPHD stands for Grand Prix d'Horlogerie de Genève, and it's a very prestigious Swiss watchmaking industry award. CIGA Design deserve full credit because they were the first Chinese brand to win a GPHD award, and they were competing against the very best Swiss brands in the watchmaking industry. So, this Blue Planet 2 is an updated version of the original award-winning Blue Planet, and there are some notable enhancements which I'll detail. So firstly, let's look at the box that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the specifications of the piece. So the watch comes in a cardboard watch box which is in the style of a book inside a sleeve. So this is protected in shipping by an outer cardboard box which I'll show you because the packaging is very good. It does a good job of protecting the watch in shipping from any damage. Either side of the sleeve, protecting the watch box which is in the style of a book, there are two foam caps, and these foam caps are very snug fit inside the outer cardboard box. So I'll remove it and show it to you. The other thing I want to show you is good attention to detail, a nice presentation, because inside the outer cardboard box we also have a CIGA Design branded gift bag, as you can see. And this is very good because if you want to present this as a gift to somebody, for example as a birthday present, it has this very aesthetically pleasing outer gift bag which has CIGA Design embossed, and we also have CIGA Design branded ribbon in gilt. So very nice presentation. So as I've detailed, the watch box is in the style of a book, and there are these two foam caps which are a snug fit. There's a sleeve around the book. Now on the front you can see it has this GPHD sticker, and GPHD, as I've detailed, stands for Grand Prix d'Horlogerie de Genève, and they really are like the Swiss watchmaking industry's Oscars. And in 2021 the original Blue Planet won the Challenge Award, which is very good. So the sleeve has the Blue Planet embossed, and we also have the CIGA Design logo in silver. So one removes the book from the sleeve, which is a snug fit. Edge of it is in silver, which is very aesthetically pleasing, and as you can see the front of it is branded with CIGA Design Mechanical Watch U Series Blue Planet 2, because this is the updated version of the Blue Planet which was originally released in 2021. So inside we have explanation of the design elements and the inspiration of the piece, which is the planet and the way the planet Earth is changing in time. And also it details the timeline, the history of the CIGA Design Blue Planet from its origin in 2013 to its development in 2019 to the award-winning GPHG version of the Blue Planet in 2021, and then the updated version which we're going to be looking at. And also details in 2024, which was the release of this Blue Planet 2, the notable enhancements, the updates, the changes to improve it, and also it details the GPHD award as I've referred to. And they really deserve credit because it was an incredible achievement for a Chinese watch brand to attain a challenge award from GPHG. And they were the first Chinese watch brand to do that, and they were competing against Swiss brands. So inside here we have a cutout for the head of the piece and also the specifications of the piece. There's a cutout for the head of the piece and also a cutout for the strap, so you need to fit the fluoro rubber strap to the head of the piece. But nice presentation. And on the last page we have an owner's instruction manual, clear, concise diagrams. The instructions are in English, and it details step by step how to set the time and also even how to fit the fluoro rubber strap with the quick release spring bars if you're unfamiliar with that. And the instructions are really very good. They have made them simple to read, they're easy to understand. There's also detail on daily maintenance and care, and there's also contact for their customer services if you want to make a warranty claim. So the watch is covered by a 12-month international warranty, which is very good. So very good presentation. They deserve credit for coming up with something original rather than just using the less expensive default option of a plastic or cardboard watch box. This book design is very well crafted, very well made and aesthetically pleasing, and also the instructions are very good. Now lastly, you also get this cardboard warranty card, and it has the contact for their customer services, support at CIGAdesign.com if you want to make a warranty claim. As I've detailed, the Blue Planet 2 is covered by the usual CIGA Design 12-month international warranty, which is good. There's space to fill in the name, the contact number, purchase date, product name and product number of the piece. They don't fill this in, but I can confirm that the watch is covered from the date of purchase with 12 months warranty, which is very good. So this is the Blue Planet 2. In 2021, I previously reviewed the original award-winning piece, which was made from titanium. This piece is made from steel, but it is still available in 2 versions, as I've detailed, both steel and also titanium, depending on your personal taste. There are some notable updates which I'll detail. So, the original version had a brushed satin finished titanium case. This has now been updated to 316L grade stainless steel, which is mirror polished. The original was brushed satin finished, this is now mirror polished. Both the steel and titanium versions of the Blue Planet 2 are mirror polished cases versus brushed satin finish as per the original. The other notable difference is the crystal profile. If you look at the dome of the double dome sapphire crystal, which has AR coating, they've now increased the curvature of it by 25%. So this has added 2mm of thickness to the head of the piece because the curvature is increased by 25%. What that means is it's 2mm taller. So to put this into perspective, the original Blue Planet was 15.3mm thick. This one is 17.3 due to the increased curvature, but it is more aesthetically pleasing. The other notable difference is they've increased the curvature of the Blue Planet, the planet Earth inside. It's now 36% more domed. So the Blue Planet has a higher dome to it, and the crystal around it also has a higher dome, so it is more aesthetically pleasing. The other notable difference to the Blue Planet itself is it's more high definition. If you look at the actual countries in silver, they've increased the 3D effect, so there's more depth to the engraving and the embossing, and therefore the engraving and embossing of the silver countries are now sharper, they're more crisp and 3D effect. Previously on the original Blue Planet, the countries had a flatter profile to them. The definition wasn't so sharp and crisp, and the embossing was flatter. This is now more 3D effect, so the countries actually look 3D versus flat. Also, the compass is more high definition, it's sharper, more crisp, so they've improved the enhancement of the finishing to the silver countries, which are embossed and engraved. Now, there's another notable difference is they've changed the movement, which I'll detail. The original movement ran at 28,800 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 4 Hz. This one runs at 21,600 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 3 Hz, but it still has the same 40-hour power reserve, although it's not as decorated as the original, and I'll detail that when I talk through the movement later. There's another notable enhancement or update. The original Blue Planet from 2021 had a buckle and tang, which was made from titanium to match the titanium case. This one has a buckle, but it doesn't have a tang. It's not a buckle and tang, it's a deployant. Now, it's made from 316L grade stainless steel. Visually it looks exactly the same as the titanium buckle and tang used on the original Blue Planet, but this Blue Planet 2 has a stainless steel buckle, engraved with high definition engraving with CIGA design, but in order to deploy it or open it, you need to press the 2 flathead screws with your index finger and thumb on the left and the right hand flanks. Now, this is subtle and it's absent from the owner's instructions, and it's not immediately apparent. So, for example, the majority of collectors would simply try to force it open, and they would think this is a defect because they think, well, why can't I open it? I can't just pull open the deploying clasp. They haven't actually stated in the instructions that you need to press the flathead screw on the left and the right hand flank with your index finger and thumb. There are 2 buttons. When you press the 2 flathead screws, it opens freely. And the left hand half opens first, and then you just pull open the right hand half. So it's rather like a butterfly clasp, the deployant opens freely. But they really should state this, because if you don't press the 2 buttons, once it snaps shut, the right hand portion and the left hand portion, it locks. So you can't actually pull it open. So if you grab hold of the buckle and you try to pull it, or you put your thumbnail or fingernail underneath the buckle to try and prise it open, it doesn't open, it locks. This isn't a defect, but they simply need to state that these 2 flathead screws are actually buttons you press. When you press them, it releases the lock. It's innovative, but subjectively I think the actual original buckle and tang was a simpler system and there was less bulk to it because you didn't have this internal deployment. But there we are, that's the update. So with regards to the specifications of the piece, we have a 46mm case diameter, which is the same as the original titanium Blue Planet. As it's a round circular piece, it's 46mm diameter, measured from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock and also from 12 o'clock to 6 respectively. So it's a perfect circle, 46 diameter, but the spring bars are recessed, as you can see. there are undercuts to the flanks of the case, as you can see. So it does have a lug-to-lug measurement, which is beneath the 46mm diameter, or also the 46 lug-to-lug. It is 31mm between the two spring bars, so that is the actual lug-to-lug, because as you can see, just bear with me, I'll get the camera to focus. There is a significant undercut. So the case actually does wear more like a 31 lug-to-lug, even though the actual diameter and the lug-to-lug is 46. It's 31 lug-to-lug between these two undercuts to the flanks. That's something to bear in mind. As I've detailed, the most notable difference in the dimensions is the original Blue Planet was 2mm lower profile. The titanium version, the original Blue Planet, was 15.3, but they've increased the curvature of the double dome sapphire crystal by 25%, and that's increased the piece by 2mm, so it's now 17.3 versus 15.3 of the original. That's something to bear in mind because it does wear more top heavy and taller on wrist, and needless to say, it's going to be very difficult to slip underneath a shirt cuff if you wear business shirts because it's now 2mm taller. 17.3 thick is very tall. The lug width remains the same. It is a 22mm lug width, and the fluoro rubber strap tapers from 22mm at the lugs down to the buckle and deployant clasp. As you can see, I think the buckle and tang was a better option because it was lower profile and it was simpler. You didn't need to press the two button push triggers to release it. Also, it didn't have this inner portion, and the problem with this inner portion, as I'll show you in the wrist shot, is it makes the strap thicker and the buckle sit proud from the wrist. The buckle and tang version on the original Blue Planet was lower profile. I think simpler is better, less is more. But the fluoro rubber strap is identical. 22 tapering down to the buckle, it's exactly the same as the original fluoro rubber strap. FKM fluoro rubber is more robust and durable long term than silicone rubber. Does feel slightly stiffer than silicone rubber, but it is more robust. And in terms of how it feels, it's slightly softer than butadiene nitrile rubber or natural rubber, so it's a good compromise between the two. Nitrile butadiene rubber is the hardest, the more robust, it's the longest lasting, and natural rubber is also very hard wearing and robust. Fluoro rubber really sits between the two, between butadiene nitrile rubber and also silicone rubber. It's tougher, more robust than silicone rubber, but then not as soft and supple, but it's a good compromise between the two, between butadiene nitrile and silicone respectively. Nice soft and supple finish to it, matte finish to the top side and underside, perfectly smooth, and it does taper. It's thicker and more reinforced around the spring bar end where it needs to be, and then it tapers down in thickness and width down to the buckle and deployance. So it does feel very soft and supple. Plenty of holes in it. It will fit from a 6-inch up to a maximum 8-inch wrist, and there are plenty of holes for all wrist sizes, so it's good. Right, so I'll show you the case back. We have a screw-down exhibition case back, which is glazed with sapphire crystal. The outer portion is solid 316L grade stainless steel, which is mirror polished to flawless standard. The milled slots are deburred and chamfered, so no sharp edges whatsoever. Centre section is glazed with sapphire crystal. They deserve credit here because they haven't used the cost-cutting measure of glazing it with mineral crystal. Strictly speaking, it doesn't need sapphire crystal glazing because the back of the watch isn't an area that's prone to being scuffed and scratched as per the front, which has a double dome sapphire crystal with AR coating. But sapphire crystal is good clarity, and it does a good job of displaying the movement used. Now, they've updated the movement, which I'll detail. Previously, it used a movement which was a clone of the ETA 284-2. This movement is a modified Miyota Caliber 8000 series. In the centre of the glazed sapphire crystal, we have the GPHG emblem, and this also states that it won the 2021 Challenge Award, and they deserve full credit for displaying this. They are right to be absolutely proud of it because it is, as I've detailed, a very impressive achievement for a Chinese brand competing against Swiss watch brands in the watchmaking industry to win a GPHG award. It is a prestigious award. So it does a good job of displaying the movement and also the rotor, which is signed with CIGA design. Although the movement is undecorated, the original was decorated. They've also updated the proportions of the crown. Now, the original was made from titanium. The crown was also titanium, but it was lower profile. So the problem was it was recessed more into the right-hand flank of the case, and therefore it was hard to get purchased with your index finger and thumb in order to pull out the crown, set the time, and also manually wind it. So they've increased the proportions. The crown is stainless steel on this version, the Blue Planet 2, but it's also prouder. It sits more outside rather than being recessed into the right-hand flank. The benefit of that is you can get good purchase on the knurled teeth, and therefore it's more grippy and tactile, and it doesn't stick out too much, but it is better proportions. So the proportions on this piece, on the Blue Planet 2, are good. There are two other notable updates, two differences between the Blue Planet original and this Blue Planet 2. They've increased the size of the indices and also the minute ticks. So the minute ticks on the chapter rings, there are two chapter rings. The outer chapter ring is fixed for the hours. The inner chapter ring rotates around the Blue Planet. And the inner chapter ring is for the minutes. The outer chapter ring is for the hours respectively. They've increased the size of the minute ticks and the hour indices on both chapter rings. This improves the legibility because the original was difficult to read the time, both on the minutes and the hours on the chapter rings, because the indices were very fine on the original Blue Planet. On this one, they've increased the proportions of the indices by 105%, so they're significantly larger. The Arabic numerals are also larger, so it's easier to read the time on this Blue Planet 2, which is a benefit. So, I'll show you how to read the time, and we'll check the push-pull crown execution. The push-pull crown provides an effective hermetic seal to 30 metres, which is acceptable for a daily wear piece. So, as it's a push-pull crown rather than a screw-down crown, in the closed position, we can manually wind the movement. So, CIGA Design do not detail which movement they're using. It's simply called a CIGA Design caliber, but I can tell by looking at it, I can identify it's based upon a Miyota Caliber 8000 series. So, one can manually wind the Miyota Caliber 8000 series to its maximum 40-hour power reserve. It has the same power reserve as the original CIGA Design caliber, which was based on a clone of the ETA 284-2. That also had a 40-hour power reserve, so there's no detrimental technical difference between the early version movement used in the CIGA Design Blue Planet original and the Blue Planet 2 we're looking at. But this is based upon a Miyota 8000 series, which is made in Japan. Feels nice and light. Does feel lighter than manually winding the original movement used in the first version, Blue Planet. One can feel the tension in the mainspring gradually building up to its maximum 40 hours, so it feels lighter than manually winding a Seiko NH35A, which you'll all be familiar with. It feels very similar to manually winding an SW200-1. Doesn't feel gritty or rough, feels smooth, but it does feel lighter than an NH35A. So you can feel the tension in the mainspring gradually building up, does feel smooth. Pulling it out to the first click position hacks the movement. So there's no phantom date setting position because there's no date complication. We're now in the time setting position. Now there isn't a second hand or any indication for the seconds, but the movement does hack. So therefore it is good. Now, I'll tell you how you read the time. You can see on the Blue Planet there is a compass, and that's the pointer that you use to read the time. Rather than using hands as per an hour and minute hand, which you would do with a 3-hand watch, you use the compass to read the time. So there are two chapter rings. The outer chapter ring is fixed. That is for the hours. So we have the hours around the chapter ring. On the outer scale we have 12 hours, 2, and then so on, 6 and 9. But the inner rotating ring is a rotating chapter ring, as you can see, and it rotates both clockwise and anti-clockwise with the Blue Planet, planet Earth, rotating inside, as you can see. And it's very quick to rotate. So I'm going to set it to 12 o'clock with the compass pointing to it, and then I'm going to set it to 6 o'clock, and you'll be able to read the time, and I'll explain. So just bear with me and I'll line it up. Now, it does take some getting accustomed to, but once you do become accustomed to, it's easy to read the time. So if you look closely, you can see the compass pointer, pointing north, is now pointing at both the 12 Arabic numerals on the outer chapter ring for the hours, and it's also pointing at 00, which denotes the minutes. So it's now bang on 12 o'clock. When I rotate the crown anti-clockwise, it advances the Blue Planet and the inner chapter ring for the minutes clockwise. So the crown rotates in the opposite direction to the chapter ring. That's something to note. So you rotate the crown anti-clockwise and it cycles the compass around with the planet. Also cycles through the minutes on the inner rotating chapter ring. So I'm now going to line it up at 6. So you can see the compass is now pointing south and it's pointing towards the 6 Arabic numeral on the outer fixed chapter ring. That's 6 for 6 o'clock. The 00 denotes 0 minutes, so it's now at 6 o'clock. So you can see when the pointer is pointing towards the 6 and the 00, it's now 6 o'clock. And when I bring it round clockwise to 9 o'clock, I'll show you it again pointing at 9 o'clock. So just bear with me and I'll get it to line up with 9 and also 00. There is some slight backplay you need to get used to taking up. Right, so You can see the compass pointer is now pointing to the west, and you can see it's now 9. I'll turn it around, you'll be able to see it better. You can see the compass pointer is now pointing on the outer scale, the fixed chapter ring, 9 for 9 o'clock and 00 for 00 minutes. So it's now 9 o'clock. And then I'll cycle it back round to 12:00. So it does take some getting used to, but with practice you do become accustomed to it. It's just mentally you have to get over being used to looking at an hour and minute hand and a second hand on a 3-hand watch. And you're now looking at a fixed chapter ring for the hours and a rotating chapter ring, the inner rotating ring, for the minutes. And you have to get used to always looking for the compass rather than looking at hands on a watch as per a minute and an hour hand. But you do get used to it. It does work well. But the thing to note is there is some back play. When you rotate the crown, there's not an immediate response. For example, when I rotate it clockwise and anti-clockwise, you have to take up some slack. Now, it's not significant. I wouldn't describe it as detrimental, but you do have to take up some slack. So when you're setting the compass pointer to the minute on the rotating inner chapter ring, you have to take up the clockwise and anti-clockwise slack in the gearing. But however, it is necessary, because if it didn't have that play or slack in between the gears, when you push in the crown, this movement does have hacking. So when you push in the crown, it clicks. If it didn't have the back play in the gearing, what would happen is the gears would jump, and therefore it would move the pointer of the compass and also the rotating inner chapter ring. It would jump it out of position. So it does need to have some movement, some meshing, in other words, some play in between the gears, and therefore there is going to be some slack. So it does really feel like setting the time on an NH35A or a Miyota 8215. That's the kind of feeling. In terms of the back play, the slack you need to take up. So it's now on bang on 12 o'clock, as you can see. Pushing it back in restarts it. So push-pull crown works well. It's grippy and tactile. The increased proportions are beneficial. You can get better purchase on it. Feels good. I prefer it to the original titanium crown, which was more recessed into the right-hand flank. This stainless steel crown is good. The knurling is well finished. No sharp edges to the tips of the knurled teeth. And the cap is mirror polished to a good standard. So the finishing is good. No sharp edges to it whatsoever. Quality of the finishing to the 316L grade stainless steel case is fantastic. No flaws in the mirror polishing whatsoever. Beautiful lustre to it. Now, the thing about it is, visually, I think it looks better. This is still available, the Blue Planet 2, in 2 versions, titanium or stainless steel. The thing to notice, there is a difference in the heft of the piece, because this piece is significantly heavier than the original Blue Planet, which was made from titanium. The original Blue Planet was 81 grams, which was very lightweight for a 46mm piece. But this one is 107 grams. So just think about that for a moment. 107 grams for the steel version versus 81 grams for the titanium version. This is much heavier. So if you like pieces to be more comfortable, rather than top heavy and wear them for long periods of time, such as 8 to 12 hours per day, the steel version is very heavy in comparison to the titanium. But however, it's still available in titanium. You can opt for that. Both the modern versions, the updated versions of the Blue Planet 2, are mirror polished. They no longer do the Blue Planet in brushed satin finish as per the original award-winning version from 2021. The titanium and the steel versions are both mirror polished. I think the mirror polishing looks better than the brushed satin finishing. It gives it a more high-end feel, and I think it's very well done. Nice curved profile to the case, and it's a perfect circle. 46mm diameter, 46mm lug to lug, but the real lug to lug, as I've detailed due to the undercuts for the spring bars, is 31 lug to lug. So I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. So just bear with me. I'll open the right hand portion of the deployant. Now I've adjusted this strap to fit my 8-inch wrist, which is good. Plenty of adjustment. So right hand portion is handed. You need to close the right hand portion of the deployant first, and then the left hand portion overlaps. Nice positive click, and the left hand portion overlaps the buckle, as you can see. So I've now done it up tight because I want you to show you what the absolute maximum this will support is. So still have plenty of holes left in the strap, which is good. I can engage the end of the strap with the first fixed keeper, so that's good. However, I can only just engage the second keeper, as you can see. So it's a fraction too short. It would need to be half an inch longer to fit my 8-inch wrist comfortably. But there are enough adjustments, enough holes left to fit an 8-inch wrist. But just bear in mind, you're not going to be engaged the end of the strap fully in the second keeper. I'm not going to be critical of it because for the majority of collectors with a 6 to 7.5 inch wrist, this strap will suffice. You can see there are plenty of holes in the strap to size it down to a minimum 6 inch wrist, but the maximum it will really support is 8 inches, as you can see. For an 8.5 inch wrist, it would need a longer strap in order to be able to engage the second keeper, but it does suffice. In terms of how it feels, honestly, I think the original Blue Planet with a buckle and tang was better. The reason why I say that is this deployance, the inner portion of it creates a gap, as you can see. Now, there is a notable gap between the two keepers and the strap, as you can see. It adds thickness to it. It makes it stick out from the wrist more proud. It therefore makes it more bulky on wrist. The original version, just with a buckle and tang, didn't have this inner deployance, and therefore it sat snug to the wrist. It just wrapped around. We had 2 layers of fluoro rubber. Now what we've got is the additional stainless steel deployance beneath the 2 layers of fluoro rubber. So what you've got is this large gap. This is going to be particularly noticeable on a smaller wrist. If you have a 6 to 7 inch wrist, you're going to really notice the bulk of this deployance. They've made the deployment very thick, and I honestly think less is more. Simpler works best. There's nothing wrong with a buckle and tang. Buckle and tangs are used on straps on high-tier pieces above €10,000 price point. This does not need to have a deployance. It really does not give the piece a higher end feel. The buckle and tang is actually more comfortable. The important factors are feel-good factor and comfort level, rather than just adding a deployant to try and make the watch look more expensive than it is. High-tier pieces at €10,000 still use buckle and tangs on their straps. They don't need to have a deployant. So I think they've made a mistake with this, but this is subjective. Some collectors might like the update. Now, in terms of comfort level and feel-good factor, the truth is the original Blue Planet was more comfortable and it had better feel-good factor as a result. For example, if you wear this piece for 8 to 12 hours per day, you really can notice the additional heft because, as I've detailed, this is a taller piece. It's 2mm thicker because they've increased the curvature of both the Blue Planet and also the double dome sapphire crystal. So the Blue Planet the curvature is increased by 36%. So the dome is higher on the Blue Planet. And in order to give clearance for that, they've increased the double dome curvature, sapphire, by 25%. So what that means is the piece is now 2mm taller. The original was 15.3, which was a thick piece. It was tall, but it didn't feel top heavy. 15.3 was okay because it was made from titanium. It felt very lightweight on wrist. It was only 83 grams. And for a 46mm, 83 grams is very lightweight. Even though it was tall, it did not feel top heavy. This piece does feel more top heavy for 2 reasons. It is taller at 2mm. 17.3 is a very tall piece. Needless to say, you're not going to be easily able to slide this under a shirt cuff if you wear business shirts. 13mm or below is the sweet spot, so at 17.3 it's well in excess of the 13mm required. The other thing to note is the heft. This is significantly heavier because it's stainless steel rather than titanium as per the original. 107 grams. Now to put this into perspective, 107 grams is not heavy for a 46mm. 46 is a very large piece. It does wear with wrist presence. It does dominate the wrist, as to be expected. We're not looking at a 40mm daily wear piece. So one has to expect some additional heft. 107 grams is okay, and it is well spread. It's well distributed across the 22mm fluoro rubber strap. Had they used a 20mm strap, tapering down to 16, that would have been too narrow for a 46. So they've made the correct decision by using a wide, thick 22mm fluoro rubber strap. It does balance the weight. It does distribute the head of the piece well, but problem is it's stainless steel. 46 in stainless steel means 107 grams. Titanium really is better because 81 grams versus 107. So there's a notable increase in the heft, but as I've detailed, it is still available in titanium. And I think the mirror polishing looks better visually than the brushed satin finishing of the original Blue Planet. The solution is to go for the Blue Planet 2, but in titanium rather than steel, because it will be lighter, 81 grams versus 107. But of course it's more expensive, so that's something to bear in mind. In terms of the curvature of the Blue Planet, it does look better. It looks more like a planet Earth. So also the definition is far better. It's far sharper and crisper. If you look at the countries, the engraving and the embossing is more high definition. It's more detailed. So aesthetically it looks like a more high tier piece. The other thing to notice, the compass is also better done. It's higher definition, it's sharper, the legibility is better. Aesthetically, the large higher dome, which adds 2mm of thickness, does look better. The AR coating works very well when you tilt the piece at an oblique angle, but the higher dome does look very aesthetically pleasing. It's not going to slip underneath a shirt cuff, but the truth is the clarity, the legibility is better. You can see the larger indices and the larger Arabic numerals on both chapter rings, the hour ring and also the minute ring, because they've increased the proportions of the indices by 105%. So it's easier to read the time, that's the benefit. The planet is more detailed. That's the benefit. The dome is more aesthetically pleasing. So there are some notable benefits, but the negative is the increase in heft from 81 grams titanium up to 107 grams for the steel version. So looks good. In terms of how does it feel? Honestly, I think the original Blue Planet in titanium felt more comfortable because you can feel the additional heft. It does look and feel more top heavy. It's not uncomfortable to wear, but I just think if I had to pick the more comfortable of the two, I would say the original Blue Planet in titanium was far more comfortable because it was 2mm lower profile, but also 81 grams. So that's something to bear in mind. The other thing to note is I really think they've made a mistake with the buckle and tang, deleting it and updating it to this deployment because yes, it does work well. When you press the 2-button push triggers, which are the flathead screws, it does open freely, and the second half of it does open freely. But really, the buckle and tang is the simplest system, and one doesn't need to change things. If it's not broken, one doesn't need to fix it. So they should have just left the buckle and tang as it was, because it was very good. So let's look at the deployment in detail. So, solid 316L grade stainless steel, flawless mirror polishing to the top side, underside and flanks. No sharp edges to the internal corners, which is good. And we have 2 flathead screws, double-ended screws in the bar, which is actually acts as a trigger, as you can see. And when you press the 2 flathead screws, it releases the lock, so it's like a wishbone. When the press, you can see it compresses the wishbone. Just bear with me, I'll get the camera to focus on it, and I'll press it with my left hand. And I'll move the strap out of the way. It's going to be difficult to do. Let's do it this way. Right, so when I press the 2 flathead screws, you can see it compresses this wishbone design and acts like a spring, and that releases the lock. But as I've detailed, it's not immediately apparent how to release this. For example, when I first took this out of the watch box and I put the strap on and I closed it like this, I tried to open it in the conventional way. I tried to prise it with my fingernail underneath the buckle, and then I tried to grip the left and right hand flank and I tried to force it open and it wouldn't open. And I thought, how do you open this? Because it's not immediately apparent. There's no buttons to push. Normally with a butterfly clasp or a deployant, there are 2 triggers. There are 2 buttons on the left and the right hand flank. So you simply look at it and you see the 2 triggers and you press the 2 triggers and the butterfly clasp opens. But this doesn't have the buttons. So I looked at it and I just assumed these 2 flathead screws were screws to secure the buckle to the mechanism, which of course it does. I didn't realise they're actually buttons. They really should state that in the owner's instructions. So you press the 2 flathead screws and then of course it releases this inner wishbone spring and that releases the lock. So it does work well, but you just have to be aware of it. And I found it out by trial and error. When you press the 2 flathead screws, there are actually triggers that release this inner lock, the wishbone. Works well. In terms of finishing, mirror polishing is good. No sharp edges to the top edge or the low edge of the flanks. Let's check the hinge pins. So, left-hand hinge pin articulates freely, doesn't feel stiff or kink, doesn't have excess play. Inner left-hand hinge pin articulates freely, doesn't feel stiff or kink, doesn't have excess play. Inner right-hand hinge pin articulates freely, doesn't have excessive play, which is good. Finally, let's check the right-hand hinge pin, articulates freely, doesn't have excessive play. So, this is good. It's a good deployant clasp, which is rather like a butterfly clasp because it opens with the left and right hand portions equally. So 4 tight hinge pins, quality control, builds quality, tolerances and interference fits of the pins are good. Doesn't rattle and doesn't feel stiff or kink, so it works very well. It is nice and slender, but it's very thick. If I turn it sideways, you look at the profile of the flanks, there's too much meat. It does have a nice curvature to it, so it is going to wrap around the wrist very well, even if you have a smaller wrist of 6 to 7 inches, and the curvature will also fit a larger wrist of 7 to 8. So they've got the curve right. It's not too straight and flat, so it does wrap around the wrist. But, as I've detailed, when it's on wrist, it's bulky. I'll just put the end of the strap in the keeper, and then I'll clarify what I'm talking about. Look how thick it is now, because we've got this deployant clasp, which is thick. There's a lot of meat on it. Then we've got 2 layers of fluoro rubber, plus the 2 keepers. Now when this is on wrist, you've got this bulk, because you've got 3 layers. You've got the stainless steel, plus 2 layers of fluoro rubber. This is very thick and bulky. Now on the original Blue Planet, there was only 2 layers. We didn't have this deployant, we just simply had a buckle and tang, and then the 2 ends of the fluoro rubber straps. The end of the strap overlapped and went through the keepers, which is the convention, but you had 2 layers rather than 3 layers of material. So this deployant actually reduces the comfort level and the feel-good factor. It's not really an upgrade or an enhancement. Yes, one could consider deployant to be higher quality than a buckle and tang, and of course it increases production costs, but I really don't regard it as an upgrade. I think that it's detrimental because it makes the strap bulky on the wrist, particularly if you have a smaller wrist of 6 to 7 inches. This is a very bulky mechanism. They really need to refine it. I think they should just delete this deployant and go back to using the buckle and tang used on the original Blue Planet. It was a better system. Less is more. Right, so let's do a Lume test and we'll see how the Lume performs when it's charged up to the absolute maximum. So this is a notable update again. The original Blue Planet did not have any Super Lume Nova on it whatsoever. So the negative was you couldn't read the time in the dark, which is not very practical for an intended daily wear piece. This piece does have C3 Super Lume Nova. They've applied it to the indices on the chapter rings and also the compass. So in theory, you should be able to now read it in the dark, which is a notable enhancement. So as always, I'm going to use my 100 UV LED torch to charge it up to the absolute peak. Right, so that's now fully charged, and as you can see, it's disappointing. We're not looking at a low tier piece costing below €500 here. This is clearly a mid-tier piece. So to clarify, mid-tier is €500 to €5,000 price point. This is definitely within the mid-tier. One can be magnanimous about this kind of poor performance with a low tier piece below €500. The camera cannot autofocus on it because it's so weak. So I'm going to give CIGA Design the benefit of a second test, because when I level criticism at a brand, I like to be fair rather than unfair, and I like to be unbiased. So I'm going to charge it up fully a second time, because I really want you to be able to see the lack of potency in the exciter used in the C3 Super Lume Nova, and you'll see how quickly it fades. Now again, one can be magnanimous about this in the low tier, below €500. This piece, the steel version, is €1,056, so we're well into the mid tier at this price point. Right, so that's now fully charged, and you can see it's dreadful. The compass is fully lumed, and also I'll just leave the UV torch shining on it so you can actually see it at all. So the compass is fully lumed with C3 Super Lume Nova. They've also lumed the Arabic numerals on the inner and outer chapter rings. So the Arabic numerals on the outer fixed ring for the hours and the inner rotating chapter ring for the minutes are fully lumed. But they've missed an opportunity here because they haven't fully lumed the minute ticks. And it really defeats the object of having lume on the chapter rings. They really should fully lume the minute ticks, both on the outer fixed ring for the hours and the inner rotating chapter ring for the minutes. Yes, looming the compass with C3 makes sense, because in theory you should be able to read it register against the hours and the minutes. But as you can see, I'm having to shine the UV torch on it to get it to actually shine at all, or the exciter to emit any potency. So I'm going to charge it up once again for a third time, and then I'll try to get the camera to autofocus on it. It's dreadful. We're clearly looking at 2 to 3 layers of C3 Super Lume Nova versus the industry standard, which is 5 to 6 for good reason, because it's optimum. Right, so that's now definitely fully charged. It immediately fades to nothing, and it fades so quickly that the camera can't even autofocus. It's fading down to darkness, and the camera cannot see it in the dark as a result. It's dreadful. So they really need to enhance this. If you're going to update the dial, or effectively the chapter rings and the compass, to have C3 Super Lume Nova, you need to engrave it deep enough to apply 5 to 6 layers of BGW9 or C3 Super Lume Nova. This is dreadful. Even if this were a low tier piece costing below €100, I would say it was dreadful performance. And we're looking at a piece which is €1,056, mid tier piece. And as you can see, when I shine the UV torch, you can see the lume is very weak. It's not, the exciter is not glowing at all when I take it away. So I'm just going to charge it a last time. It's very bad when the camera can't autofocus on it. That's how weak it is. It's rather like a low-tier AliExpress watch costing below €100. That's the kind of, or a Pagani design, PD1661, which you'll all be familiar with, that kind of dreadful Lume performance. Right, so that's now fully charged, and as you can see, the camera can't even autofocus on it. It can only focus on the compass, which is blurry, the Arabic numerals, which are loomed on both the inner and outer rings. It cannot focus, so it's fading to nothing immediately. So no point in continuing with that. So absolute waste of time, really. They've really missed an opportunity. They should have engraved the compass deeper. They should have engraved the Arabic numerals, the minute ticks, and also the Arabic numerals on the inner rotating minute ring, because they've enhanced the proportions. They've increased the size of the indices by 105% to improve the legibility, and it's worked. In daylight, you can read the time better. The Blue Planet original version from 2021, the indices were small. The printing was high definition and crisp, it was sharp, but the problem was they were small and it was hard to read the time. It was hard to read the compass registering against the minutes and also the seconds, but with this one they've enlarged them, so in daylight you can read the time better. That's good. But in the dark, the C3 Superluminova is negligible, the performance. Right, so let's discuss the movement use, because this is another update. Now, I wouldn't regard it as an enhancement, and I'll explain why. Just bear with me, I'm going to undo this strap completely because I want to show it to you properly. Right, so Sapphire Crystal Exhibition caseback displays the movement. Now, they've changed the movement, but I regard it as a change rather than an update or enhancement. Originally, the movement they used was modified. It was based upon a clone of the ETA 2824-2, so the architecture was very similar to an SW200-1 or a PT5000, which you'll all be familiar with. And it ran at 28,800 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 4 Hz. So there was a good balance between power reserve and accuracy. It was good. The other thing I liked about the original movement was it was decorated. The movement itself was decorated with pelage finishing, which was good. The rotor was decorated with milled stripes, rather like Côtes du Genève or Geneva stripes. So the movement was good looking. The rotor was good looking. This movement is sterile. The bridges are not decorated with pelage finishing as per the original Blue Planet. The rotor is not decorated with milled stripes as per Côtes du Genève or Geneva stripes, which is the original. What you've got now is a sterile movement which is undecorated, and you've got this rotor which is also undecorated. They simply signed the rotor with CIGA design. Doesn't look as good. The other thing is, this movement is different. It has 21 joules and it runs at 21,600 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 3 Hz. Now, they haven't detailed what the movement is, what it's based upon. They obviously modify it because they fit this Blue Planet to it and also the rotating chapter ring. There's no date complication and there's no phantom date setting position. So they clearly modify a base movement. But they don't detail what the movement is. But I'm able to recognise it. It's a Miyota 8000 series, which is a base calibre. We're not looking at a Miyota 9000 series, which is their premium grade of movement. We're looking at the 8000 series, which is their base grade of movement, and it's disappointing. So what they've done is they've modified a Miyota 8000 series, and there are clearly some telltale signs of it. I can tell by the architecture of the bridges and the shape of the rotor. It's a Miyota movement made in Japan, and it's clearly an 8000 series, not a 9000 series. The other giveaway is the beat rate and also the frequency, because Miyota 9000 series run at 28,800 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 4 Hz. The 8000 series you're looking at here runs at a lower beat rate and frequency of 21,600 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 3 Hz. Now clearly this isn't a selling point for CIGA design, so this is why they don't detail it on their website. They're not going to tell you it's based on an 8000 series basic Miyota grade movement, because that's not going to make you want to buy the piece at €1,056. It's not a good marketing ploy. But I'm telling you because I want you to be aware of it. They've actually downgraded the movement. The original movement used in the Blue Planet, which was decorated with pelage finishing and Côtes du Genève stripes on the rotor, was a higher grade movement. It was a clone of the ETA 2824-2, but it had the same architecture as the SW200-1 or the PT5000 respectively, which are also clones of the ETA 2824-2. I liked it. It looked good and technically it was better. The build quality, quality control, materials and finishing were all better. This 8000 series is a lower grade of movement. Now, the thing is, it is a reliable workhorse Japanese-made calibre, and the reliability is good. Early versions of the 8000 series, such as the 8215, did not have hacking. This one does have hacking, so it's clearly an updated version. So, has hand winding and hacking. There's no date complication. 40-hour power reserve is perfectly acceptable. The original movement also had 40 hours, so they haven't lost anything there. Stated accuracy is also the same. This one is minus 15 to plus 30 seconds per day. And the original movement they were using was also minus 15 to plus 30. So, the power reserve and the accuracy are the same as the early movement they were using, which was a clone of the ETA 2824-2. But they modified it. They fitted the blue planet and the rotating ring to it and deleted the date complication. So I don't regard it as an update in the sense of an enhancement, as per the other enhancements. I regard it as a change. Now, why have they done that? One could say it's a cost-cutting measure. This movement is less expensive, perhaps. It reduces production costs and therefore maximises their profit margin per piece, because clearly a modified Miyota 8000 series has a lower production cost than the clone of the ETA 2824-2, which is decorated with pelage finishing and a decorated rotor with Coats du Genève stripes. So the original movement was better finished and higher grade. This one is not finished because it's sterile and therefore lower grade. I think they've done it for production cost reasons, to cut production costs and maximise profit margin per piece, rather than enhance the piece. Going from an 8000 series up to a clone of the ETA 2824-2 would be an upgrade. It would be a beneficial upgrade to the collector. Something to bear in mind. It's reliable, well proven. It's a workhorse calibre, but I would prefer to see a modified 9000 series at this price point. For example, they could use a modified Miyota 9015 or 9039, which are premium grade, and also they're decorated with stripes on the bridges, and also they could decorate the rotor with stripes as per the original rotor. This really is a cost-cutting measure. I regard it as a negative. So, in terms of reliability, it's good. Now, this one is running consistently at plus 4 seconds per day when it's fully wound to its maximum 40-hour power reserve. So plus 4 is well within the stated accuracy of minus 15 to plus 30, so it is accurate. They're clearly regulating the movements in 5 positions to attain plus 4 from a Miyota 8000 series, which is modified. Reliability is good, build quality is good, but the finishing is poor, because it's not as well finished as a 9000 series or as well finished as the clone of the ETA 2824-2, which they previously used. It's undecorated. This would look better as per the original Blue Planet movement if it had milled stripes on the rotor and pelage finishing. So disappointing they've changed the movement. I think they should have left it as it was, because the original movement was excellent. It was accurate, it was reliable, power reserve was 40 hours, which was acceptable, and I like the look of it. The pelage finishing was very nice, and also the milled stripes on the rotor was very nice. It was aesthetically pleasing. Really, one doesn't get the benefit of using a sapphire crystal glazed exhibition caseback if you're going to be looking at a Miyota 8000 series with a sterile bridge and also sterile rotor. And the shape of the cutouts in the rotor tell me it's a Miyota 8000 series. And really, they need to go back to using the original movement they were using. It was better looking, better quality. And also 28,800 vibrations per hour and 4 Hz means that it was better balanced, because the power reserve and the accuracy were better balanced. 3 Hz, really, it's not as well balanced, because 21,600 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 3 Hz. Okay, this doesn't have a second hand, so it doesn't stutter or judder, but the problem is the balance is not as good. The compromise isn't as good between power reserve and accuracy. It does still have 40 hours and it does still have plus 4, but it's easier to maintain higher accuracy with a 4 Hz movement running at 28,800. I regard it as better. So that's something to note. Movement's been changed. I wouldn't say updated, but changed. So last I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch meet 2 criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price points. So, as I've detailed, the Blue Planet 2 is available in 2 versions. The steel version is $1,199, which is €1,056. The titanium version is $1,399, which is €1,231 respectively. This is the steel version, so therefore it's a mid-tier piece and the price point is €1,056. So I'm going to base my valuation on this price point, €1,056. I'm going to declare it good quality and I'm going to declare it okay value, but I'm not going to say excellent quality and excellent value. There are 2 negatives. The main negative is the C3 Superluminova is dreadful. So therefore I can't say it's excellent quality and excellent value at €1,056 with poor quality C3 Super Lume Nova. Needs to be 5 to 6. Inexpensive, negligible increase in production costs. There is no excuse for CIGA Design not using 5 to 6 layers of C3 or BGW9 at this price point, 1056. So lack of Lume performance is one negative, and also I regard the movement as a downgrade. The original was better, and I think this is unacceptable because they haven't cut the retail price significantly, but they've downgraded the movement to a modified Miyota 8000 series, which is a base caliber. If this used a modified Miyota 9000 series, such as the 9015 or 9039, which are my personal favourites, yes, I would say that's a notable upgrade. I would say it's a better movement because those 9000 series Miyota calibers are premium grade. The build quality, quality control, finishing, accuracy, reliability are all outstanding. They are very good. They really need to upgrade this to either a Miyota 9000 series or go back to the clone of the ETA 2824-2 and modifying it, which they previously used. This really is a downgrade. So therefore, again, I can't say it's excellent quality and excellent value due to the 8000 series movement. They've modified it okay, it works okay. My concern is the long-term reliability because it's unproven. The original Blue Planet has been in service since 2021 and there are no reliability issues with the movement they used in it. At this stage in 2025, it's got 4 years of service and therefore the movement was very reliable, accurate and well finished. This one, although the Miyota 8000 series, such as the 8215, is well proven, when you modify a movement, there is risk of reliability. For example, this is covered by a 12-month international warranty, which is fair enough. But the problem is, what happens after 12 months of warranty have expired? You've now got a modified Miyota 8000 series movement. Who is going to repair it? If you send it back to CIGA Design, are they going to replace it when it's out of warranty? This is my concern with modified movements. The warranty is only 12 months. You could wear this piece for 12 months and it doesn't develop a fault, but then what happens if it does? Because it's a modified 8000 series. I would have more confidence in a modified 9000 series, such as a 9015 or a 9039. They are premium grade. They have a higher level of finishing, build quality, quality control, tolerances, machining, finishing, accuracy, everything about them. So modifying a 9000 series is a lower risk. I think modifying an 8000 series is a risk because when you load the Canon pinion, for example, when you delete the hour, minute and second hand from the Canon pinion, you delete the date complication. Then you add this Blue Planet on top of the Canon pinion plus an inner rotating ring which is driven off the date complication. You put a lot of load on the Canon pinion. An 8000 series is not a high grade of movement. The tolerances are not tight like a 9000 series. My concern is the reliability long term. It might last for 12 months, but then when the warranty is expired, is it going to last long term? With a 9000 series, I'd feel more confident. That's just my personal opinion. So I'm going to declare it good quality, and I'm going to declare the value as okay, but I can't say excellent quality and excellent value. So I hope you've enjoyed my review of the CIGA Design Blue Planet 2 Series U. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you for watching.